There are some older folks in Murfreesboro who remember Black Cat Cave as a speakeasy during Prohibition. But recently, MTSU scholars have confirmed a Native American history to the cave that dates back more than 5,000 years. After vandalism and looting, human remains were discovered in what was an ancient cemetery. Well, the cave has now been secured with an innovative gate system, and plans are underway to transfer the city property to MTSU. But study of artifacts found in the cave in spring of 2014 are ongoing.
We've known for some time that it's a historic resource that's important for the historic occupation of the cave.
MTSU archaeology professor Dr. Tanya Paris enters the man-made opening to Black Cat Cave. Dr. Paris climbs through cinder blocks. The cave is well known by locals as a speakeasy in the 1920s during the days of Prohibition, but it may also contain a more distant human past.
We did not know about the prehistoric archaeology of the area, and so now that we know about it, it was important to get in to assess the damage that had been done to the cultural resource itself.
Earlier this year, the city discovered vandalism inside the cave. Not just graffiti, but unauthorized digging beneath the surface floor.
We have some looters' pits that have been dug down in the cave, and in the dirt that was thrown up by those looters' pits, just a couple of artifacts have been found, stone tools that we can date to the archaic time period.
The archaic period is from around 8,000 to 2000 BC. Dr. Shannon Hodge, another MTSU archaeologist, has teamed up with Dr. Paris and MTSU students to clean up, study, and preserve the cave site.
We're just going through that dirt that they tossed to the side to make sure that there weren't anything in there that they had missed.
Exactly what, if anything significant, the looters got away with is unclear.
But someone has busted up that floor and gone underneath it.
Decades ago, the speakeasy's concrete floor had covered up the cave's natural rock. Now that the area has been exposed, the MTSU archaeology team can map the soil.
Dirt, when it piles up, it doesn't usually pile up in different colors. Like, I mean, there's obviously cultural deposits down there. You can see these lines of like red dirt and things that would have had to have been brought in from outside. Otherwise, it's just kind of homogeneous brown dirt. But you can see these layers where we think there was, human or cultural activity by people. You put down a hearth and that heat bakes the dirt underneath it, and that could explain some of those red layers, because the dirt, when it gets heated, sometimes it changes color. Or they could have brought in clay to line a hearth. I mean, that was one of the things you see in Mississippian times, is they had very specific ways that they made a hearth. They'd line it with clay, and after the fire burnt it, it would turn into very hard kind of ceramic surface.
The brown is all the way down to 29.
In addition to measuring the soil, students also search the dirt and clay for solid pieces.
We usually use a smaller screen size with Dr. Paris because she wants everything we can possibly get, but for this kind of soil and dirt, we're using the standard size.
Courtney Croft, an MTSU anthropology major, sifts through bucket after bucket of soil mixed with fragments of stone, wood, glass, and animal bone. It's called screening.
And what that is basically people are digging out the dirt, putting it in our screen, and we are letting the dirt go through it, and the screen catches the artifacts.
Neck of the bottle or something.
So we'll have to go back to the lab and wash it and analyze it more. But so far, animal bone here and there, but mostly glass. Lots of historic glass from old bottles, pool tabs, that sort of thing, because it used to be a speakeasy, so lots of glass so far.
And now that evidence of prehistoric activity has also recently been discovered, Paris and Hodge are interested in the cave's prehistoric period.
And then we have some evidence that there's a prehistoric occupancy that we really don't yet know what the extent of that is. We have some evidence for maybe a fireplace or fire pit, some burned soil, some charcoal.
So what were people doing here? What time period were they living here? You know, were they living in villages? Were they living in small, even smaller than that, groups? We don't know. And so this site will help us figure out part of the story.
It would have been natural for hunter-gatherers to use the cave for shelter after harvesting shellfish from the nearby Stones River.
Mollusks don't grow in caves. They're more of a river species. So that was interesting to see that.
But as scholars, Paris and Hodge need evidence, specific types of artifacts like burnt wood that is preserved and can be radiocarbon dated.
Earlier today, I took a very large sample of carbonized wood that comes from the archaeological component, and we'll send that off to there's a specialized lab that we send it to, and within a few weeks, they'll give us back a date.
As archaeologists, they are also interested in preserving the site for future generations.
That's really one of our main focus as archaeologists, is that we have sort of a perspective of a little bit deeper time, and so we understand that these resources aren't just here for us, they're here for people who are going to come a decade or 100 years or 1,000 years after us, and we want them to be able to know as much.
With improving technology, knowledge of the past can become clearer. A new important Native American prehistoric site, Black Cat Cave, can expand historic understanding of whether Rutherford County was used simply as a hunting ground or a wider space to live. For MTSU students, this ancient cave with stories still left to tell provides wider space in which to grow as a professional.
It is invaluable to be able to do hands-on experience like this. I mean, you're actually doing the skill that you're going to school to learn. You can read about it all day, but actually getting your hands-on experience is just, it's key to this discipline.
It's called getting your hands dirty in the field of archaeology. And for students like Courtney Croft, it's more than a cliche. Now for